For a decade, basketball players have presented themselves wearing some unusual yet quirky jerseys. These jerseys are the symbolic representation of their historic eras. While some of them were successful in making them iconic, others weren't. So, here's a summary of the most iconic jerseys of all time. Jerseys, the coolest fashion trend. If you were in high school in the early 2000s, there was no other wardrobe staple than a classic jersey, be it soccer, football, baseball, or basketball. The more exotic and rarer, the merrier. It didn't make a difference. Hip-hop was the catalyst for this fashion revolution. Famous rappers such as Jay-Z and Nelly, Snoop Dogg, Cameron, and Fabulous wore them in pop songs wearing jerseys we had no idea existed. This fashion trend was not meant for males only. Females of all age groups also enjoyed wearing these cool jerseys with the same spirit. Do you know that Maya is the ancestor of the jersey craze? You'd be surprised to know that she began this trend with her UNC Michael Jordan costume in the legendary 2000 video. And what about your thoughts on the classic jersey gown of Mariah Carey's Washington Wizards? In 2003, she graced it when singing during his last All-Star game. During the NBA All-Star weekend, jerseys have always been a big part of the talk and hype. They're statements in and of themselves. The All-Star game of the NBA is one of basketball's most prestigious events, as we all know. Fans will see jaw-dropping dunks, spectacular passes, and memorable moments. The All-Star game builds emotions that will last a lifetime, and on occasion, NBA All-Star games become so iconic that the jerseys themselves become part of the excitement. The official threads for the All-Star game are sometimes great tributes to the host city. Other times, they precisely depict the style and values. Looking back, some of the most loved All-Star games would be incomplete without their incredibly dazzling jerseys for sure. First, we have 1995, Phoenix. These jerseys serve as the beginning and end of the list. The 1990s were a golden age of uniform style and design. The cheesy cartoon was king until the end of the decade, when adding black to any jersey became a mainstream craze. The 1995 event was held in Phoenix. Therefore, flamboyant cartoon cactus was the day's theme, as the league once again drew inspiration from the host city. Certainly, Michael Jordan's absence was a sour note. However, Charles Barkley, Grant Hill, and MVP Mitch Richmond performed excellently. The game, as well as the jerseys, became an absolute masterpiece. Next up, 2012, Orlando. 2012's All-Star joints are precisely what we require in a jersey. It doesn't have to be a groundbreaking or deviate from previous patterns. Orlando received some vintage jerseys that depict the conference's division and represent the All-Star in a classic way, which we adore. Nothing spectacular, yet iconic. NBA fans at Disney were treated to a real spectacle. Kevin Durant and LeBron James dominated overall scores with 36 points each in an exhilarating game. The jerseys may disappoint, however, keep in mind that they came before the highly controversial sleeve jerseys. To your surprise, it was a gloomy age for the NBA in terms of fashion and sensibility. The 2012 All-Star jerseys are unique while being well balanced. However, things might have gone drastically wrong. While the initial name jerseys were slightly changed, they felt unneeded and didn't add much to them. The 2015 uniforms, on the other hand, were quite distinct from the previous red-blue patterns by just making their gradient. The red, gold, and white tones complement each other effectively, as do the opposing team's blue, silver, and white colors. It's nothing out of the ordinary, but it's enough to set them apart from other jerseys, elevating them from just good to interesting with bare minimal effort. Now we have 2018, Los Angeles. For the majority of the 21st century, the NBA has majorly used a red-blue color scheme for its jerseys. The early 2000s were nationalistic, and this tendency continued into the 2010s. With the exception of a few flashes of flair in cities like New Orleans, the All-Star game lacked much allure when it came to the attire of the All-Star jerseys. However, a trendy and eye-catching alternative has just emerged. The league went with the traditional East-West roster for the first time. These statement jerseys were an excellent way to bring in a new chapter. This stood out against the bright lights of the former Staples Center. Up next, 2003, Atlanta. The 2003 All-Star game in Atlanta featured some of the more intricate uniforms we've ever seen at an All-Star game. The jerseys had dominant red, white, and blue colors, which gave a chic yet stylish touch to the tread. The design is simple, unambiguous, and shockingly distinctive. It's also intriguing to notice the stylistic differences. For example, Michael Jordan wears his shorts above the knee and his jersey nearer to the vest. On the contrary, we've noticed Kobe going for a baggier appearance, which is also popular at the moment. At around the age of 40 years, Michael Jordan took part in his 14th and last All-Star game. Therefore, it was appropriate that the jersey served as a valuable addition to the decade he helped define. You'd be astonished to know that these jerseys are so basic that it's difficult to pinpoint why they perform so effectively. Looking at these makes us feel as though we've just delved through some old crates in the cellar and unearthed a piece of particular NBA memories with a magical magical element to it. The use of several stars all through the jersey, the traditional block, and the presence of the NBA emblem on the front just work perfectly. Next on our list, 1996, San Antonio. 1996 was also a joyful year and marked the perfect time to emerge. Everything was livelier and flamboyant, from players to the game, even the All-Star jerseys. The issue is they are the most divisive outfits on the list, but they are also the most remembered. The game took place in San Antonio, and the design appears to have been prompted in part by the Spurs' Fiesta team colors. Again, an amazing animated short. The 1996 jerseys were a comical blend of pro basketball. Michael Jordan looked fantastic in both 1995 and 1996 jerseys. 1990's threads have been one of the most iconic and adored designs. However, it also signaled the end of city-specific jersey designs, indicating that they weren't as popular as you might think. So it would be remiss of us to not mention another fantastic group of jerseys from that decade. For whatever reason, the combination of the NBA All-Star Game, the Desert Host City, and mid-90s jerseys equals extremely good jerseys. The 1996 jerseys, like their 95 counterparts, are wonderful, delightful, and somewhat goofy, yet lots of oomph and personality. The world used to be a cheesier place, and the jerseys will remind us of that. Next, Rudy Gobert's comeback to the Jazz lineup after 9 absences from the games. You'd be surprised to know that Rudy Gobert, Utah's defensive stalwart, was back in the paint for Monday's 135-101 thrashing of the Houston Rockets. In 22 minutes, he ended with 14 points, 7 rebounds, and a block before getting dismissed in the fourth quarter. After missing 9 consecutive games due to a left calf injury, the Jazz announced on Monday that Gobert had been healed and would be ready an hour before tip-off. Between that and a prior 5-game layoff, Utah went 6-8 without Gobert in the middle, despite being on a 5-game winning run before Monday night. However, with the return of the 29-year-old player, the Jazz was able to field their usual starting lineup for the first time in 13 games. The group has a 23-6 record this season. Without the presence of Gobert, the Jazz defense dropped from the top 5 to complete disarray early on. Then, however, the Jazz began performing without him. The Jazz is expecting that Gobert's return, along with a midseason trade for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, would propel them back up the Western Conference standings. Since January 1st, Utah has gone 10-12, behind the third-place Memphis Grizzlies by 3.5 games. Well, we also hope the same for the team. Next, NBA and NBPA reinstate Tyreke Evans. Did you know that Evans is currently an unrestricted free agent after being fired and suspended from the NBA on May 17, 2019? Well, yes, that's true. The 32-year-old player's appeal to be reinstated as an NBA player was approved today by the NBA and the NBPA. Tyreke Evans was fired and suspended from the league on May 17, 2019 after a drug violation under the NBA and National Basketball Players Association anti-drug program. Evans is now an unrestricted free agent, according to an agreement between the NBA and the NBPA. He may negotiate the terms and conditions of a player's contract with any team. In addition, he may enter into a player contract with any team he wishes to join beginning on Friday, February 18, 2022, pertaining to other relevant CBA regulations. Lastly, Giannis Antetokounmpo sits out the Bucks' loss versus the Blazers. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a Greek basketball player of the Milwaukee Bucks, had been proclaimed out of the game held on Monday because of his left ankle pain. The game was played against the Portland Trail Blazers. However, Mike Budenholzer, who's also Milwaukee's coach, stated before the game that according to his intuition, the Antetokounmpo's injury is a short-term problem. The Greek player seemed to injure his left ankle by stomping on Jay Crowder's foot on a move to the basket during Thursday's 131-107 defeat to Phoenix. However, he still sustained in the game. Serge Ibaka made his Bucks appearance on Monday, taking the 27-year-old's place in the starting lineup. The Spanish basketball player Ibaka scored the Bucks' first 6 points, but didn't concede within his 31-minute stretch while grabbing 7 rebounds. And that's a wrap for this video. Hey, we'll see you in the next one.